Hello, I'm Doug Benedict, and welcome to the Butler Esports interview series, where we're interviewing sports leaders, owners, and industry experts in the evolving world of esports. Today's interview is with Danielle Rourke, Senior Strategist with Dell for the higher education sector. Danielle is a graduate of Southwestern College, where she received her Bachelor's of Science in Computer Operation Technology, Business Quality Management. Danielle also received her Master's of Science from Capella University in Information Technology. Welcome, Danielle.
Thanks so much, Doug, for having me.
Of course. So, jumping right into it, how did you get started professionally? You jumped out of your college career. Did you wait between your bachelor's and your master's? How did it all start?
I had quite an interesting story. Had kind of life happen. I was in high school. I ended up having my son pretty early on. And so I didn't want to give up an education. So I actually went to community college and then my 4-year and then my master's while I was working and raising my son. So it wasn't quite a jump straight from college into work and then life, but it was a really good experience and taught me a lot of things. So a lot of perseverance, I think, went into that. But I did, once I got my master's degree, I was able to transition into some careers in information technology. So I was everything from a software tester to an IT project manager to a business analyst and a systems analyst, a development manager. So I played around all over in the world of information technology.
Okay, so you've been all over. What are maybe not two of your favorite projects, but like two of your favorite areas that you've been in?
Oh, that's a good question. So I would say one of them. So before I came to Dell Technologies, I was actually working for CU Boulder in the Office of Information Technology, and I was able to be a part of a really innovative effort to have a complete master's degree program, so a Master of Science of Electrical Engineering, and we partnered with Coursera. So rather than hosting it on our own local learning management system, we actually utilized the Coursera platform to put all of the content and create the courses in these little bite-sized chunks that students could absorb. And then we worked together with this huge team across the university with the registrar, the bursar, the IT department, the engineering department, and we all really came together around this innovative idea to have a new way for students to learn and a new way for students to interact with a college or university. And so that was really fulfilling because it was innovative, it was groundbreaking, it was kind of flipping the traditional process of admissions and payment and registration on its head and allowing for more flexibility for the students. So that was really cool. I'd say that was probably one of my favorite projects of my whole career. I'd say, the second area is probably what I'm doing right now with Dell Technologies. We actually have a consortium that we've pulled together of higher education researchers and professors and directors from different esports groups and teams. And, just pulling everybody together and getting everybody to talk and have ideas and share and collaborate. And, we've got people from North America, we've got people from Europe, we've got people from South Africa. So that has been really wonderful to get that kind of a collaboration around esports, which is something we're all really passionate about.
Awesome. So how did you get to Dell? All these different areas. Not how did you get to Dell? How did you get here at Dell?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of one and the same. So, like I said, I was working at CU Boulder in the Office of Information Technology and just kind of got presented with this particular opportunity. I wasn't really looking for anything, but I had an acquaintance who worked on this education strategy team, and she let me know just how fascinating it was and how many opportunities there were to interact with institutional organizations, education organizations across the United States and even farther, and be able to help them with their goals in technology and education. And it sounded really exciting. And so I really wanted to be a part of the team. And luckily enough, they wanted to have me. And so I've gotten to do some really cool projects and just have great interactions that are really trying to push forward education and how technology can enable that.
Awesome. So, your role, you're senior strategist for the higher education sector, right? What do you do? What are your responsibilities? Not that I'm an expert on higher ed or anything, but that to me, that sounds like, you're education in the realm of like curriculum, or are you doing like, partnerships? Yeah, I guess is my question.
Yeah, so we do a little bit of it all. We're kind of all over the spectrum as far as education is concerned. One of the things that I really love about Dell Technologies is that we walk the talk, and Dell states we care about education. We care about education moving forward, and we really want to help further humanity. And the fact that we have an entire team of former educators, former principals, and CIOs, and superintendents, and directors of academic technology that were embedded within the educational space, and that now we can actually help a huge company like Dell with all of the resources spread technology and educational practices and help bring schools together is just wonderful. So that's some of what I do at a really, really high level. I like to tell people that I play a little bit of a mediator between the educational institutions and the company, Dell Technologies. And I love that because for the educational institutions, I get to be a technology advocate, and I get to be someone who comes in and says, hey, did you guys know that we have all of these different products that can really help make your school and your programs more efficient, and that can reduce the amount of time that someone has to spend clicking on something, and we can actually empower these really cool programs. Here's what we're seeing from other educational industries and organizations across the country, across the world. Have you guys thought about these ideas? So that's really fun because I get to bring all of that new knowledge back to the educational institutions. But then on the flip side, I also get to be an educational advocate to Dell Technologies and help our company understand what is it that education and educators really need in order to do their job and to fulfill their mission of really bringing students along on their educational journey. So I love my job, and we get to do so many cool things, interact with so many great people. I couldn't have asked for anything better.
I can hear the passion in your voice for sure. So Dell and esports, right? It's why we're hosting this little series here. What's the vision at Dell within the esports space in higher education institutions?
Yeah, absolutely. Dell really sees esports as this incredible tool and this incredible path forward. And, especially in regards to higher education, a lot of institutions, a lot of people say, okay, yeah, that's a recruitment and retention tool. Because if you have the big flashy esports space and all the lights and, it's fun, then students are going to want to come to your school, and then they're going to want to stay there so that they can play video games while they're getting their degree. But, Dell Technologies really believes it's more than that because we've seen actual examples and real life scenarios and stories and talked to the players and the educators and the coaches where it's really an avenue to allow inclusivity, to bring in students who maybe wouldn't participate in anything else on campus. In fact, we've talked to multiple schools and multiple organizations that say a good chunk, like 30, 40, 70% of the students that are involved in their esports program really had no other extracurricular activities on campus or even in the K-12 school districts. And so this is a way to bring them in and help give them that school spirit and tie them together and give them a sense of community. I mean, so many gamers, so many esports players, really feel connected and passionate about the games that they play and the relationships that they develop in that gaming. And so it's an amazing tool to just create community within the schools. And then there's kind of the obvious that esports as an industry is exploding. I know some of the other previous speakers you've had on this podcast have really called out a lot of the great numbers that show, esports is on fire and it's not going to stop anytime soon. And so there is a need for schools to be able to educate up and coming career people to have those skills. There's a huge market out there. I often challenge people, go out to LinkedIn and enter esports in the job search bar, and you will be amazed at how many different jobs you're going to return. And it's not just professional gamers. I think there's a misconception out there that, the only way to get into esports is to be the top gamer. And it's really not. There's shoutcasters, there's marketing, there's arena managers that put together all of the equipment and organize the events. There's content managers for social media or for the game publishers themselves. there's programming and designing and art, and there's just, it runs the gamut. And so there's really an opportunity there for higher education institutions to help move that along and to help educate the people that are going to work in those fields in the future. So that's kind of our outlook on it, is that it's so much more than just gaming.
Absolutely. But yeah, you're very vast picture that you have just painted for me. But yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. I think that's an amazing take. So Dell as a company then,
Mm-hmm.
what differentiates its equipment, its people from the competitors, right?
Yeah, there's a few different things there. You know, one is we've got really cool designs. I love, the designs and the shape of a lot of our Alienware computers and our peripherals. And then the other thing that I would say is that we have amazing partnerships with other, vendors and hardware providers like Intel and AMD and NVIDIA. We have been very, very fortunate to just work with these incredible partners. Throw Microsoft in there too, because they're also awesome, and they help us create these great products that then can go and not only look good but also perform well, for the students, for the esports athletes. And we've recognized that this is such an area of growth, and we've invested in some partnerships like with Team Liquid. Team Liquid is really, kind of top of their game, and in the esports professional players industry, and they are following it up as well with the care, with the nutrition and the psychology and the kind of whole body caring about their players. And so those are the types of companies and programs that we want to partner with, that just really show that it's an entire ecosystem, and that it's more than just sitting in front of a computer for 10 hours a day and playing straight. There's competition, there's professionalism, and there are great products that can run that.
Absolutely. So this, unprecedented time that we live in, COVID-19, how has it disrupted what you do, or has it disrupted what you do?
Well, so we're definitely traveling less, that's for sure. I would say there's like two answers to that maybe that I'll give you, is that Dell Technologies has kind of actually been a leader in the remote workspace. We've actually had remote working employees for over a decade, and prior to the current environment, approximately 25% of our workforce was remote. So it was, I'm not going to say it was super easy and there wasn't any effort at all behind it, but it was not a strange concept to us to move our entire workforce remote over the course of, like a week or two there, when we all kind of got the word of what was happening. So we've been really fortunate in the fact that we've got the connections, we've got the setups, we've got the infrastructure behind it to enable us all to work safely from home. And so I've been really grateful for that. My particular role, usually I am traveling quite a bit, visiting schools and visiting, with different organizations. And so that has definitely changed, but it's been amazing how much we've been able to connect via Zoom and via email and via Teams and via other conferencing methods, and just have really meaningful engagements via these virtual mediums. So that's kind of important, and I'm very, very fortunate to work for a company that was already thinking of those things prior to something like this happening. It makes the transition much easier. I would say from kind of an esports perspective, we have seen that change a little bit, because previously we had schools and universities and colleges that were coming to us and saying, help us set up our arenas and help us, figure out how can we make these really inviting, engaging spaces for our students to come to while they're on campus. And now that the world has shifted, those conversations are shifting a little bit. It's more, okay, now how do we turn this virtual? How do we keep people engaged? And that's another one of the things I love about esports, is that, it's one of the few live competitions that has been able to go on in this current environment. It's created this real sense of community and engagement when people do have to be physically apart. And so I've been so inspired to see virtual tournaments. I know a lot of schools have actually been participating in those virtual tournaments, and it's been exciting. And we've seen an increase in viewership of those virtual tournaments and people being interested in esports because, they're tired of watching the sports reruns. And so they're saying, okay, let's watch something live. So I think it's really cool because it's just opening a lot more people's minds and experiences to esports and what it can bring, and that it's more than just the whole old stereotype of people sitting in a basement by themselves not doing anything. It really shows that it can be a competitive, collaborative team engagement.
Entering this world of esports, right? Do you have some advice that you were given about, how to handle it, where it's going, how to, operate in this field?
Some of the advice that I was given, and I think the advice that I would give, is learn. Just
Yeah.
be a learner. Like lifelong learning is important to everybody in education, and that is the same in esports because this field is evolving so rapidly, and there are so many changes and so many updates, and our current world environment has kind of accelerated that. And so now we're just seeing so many people get interested in it and involved in it. And when you get people with great ideas and great minds together, then the pace of innovation just rapidly ramps up. And so it's been really exciting to see over the past few months and years how esports has evolved and how esports is changing. So yeah, I think my main advice would just be open to learning. Like, you are never going to learn it all, because by the point that you think you've read every article on esports and watched every stream and joined Twitch and joined Discord, something new is going to come up. There's going to be some new platform, or there's going to be some new game, Valorant, that you have to learn and that you have to adapt to. And so never stop learning and never lose that passion for learning.
Absolutely. So, kind of on that air of advice, right? Are there other people in your industry that you lean on for advice and consulting when it comes to like new things coming out, like Valorant or something?
Yeah, so I'm going to throw a shout out to my colleague here at Dell Technologies on the education strategy team, Snow White. She is actually my counterpart, where I have kind of become the higher education esports subject matter expert. She is the K through 12 esports subject matter expert, and she really helped me get on board when I first joined Dell Technologies and learn a little bit more about esports, because I've been a gamer since I was a little girl. And so I was really excited to realize that esports was a part of this and that I could talk about it and be involved in it. But I wasn't necessarily on the competitive side of gaming. I was always kind of an RPG or a puzzle game or adventure person. So it has even opened up my eyes, someone who's been a self-professed gamer for years, to a whole new aspect of what it is. And Snow was really great about helping me along with that. I'd also say I'm looking to thought leaders in the space. I follow a lot of people on LinkedIn and Twitter. And I would also say that I really look to the educators who have already implemented programs. And there's a few that come to mind, like Kyle Berger from Grapevine Colleyville in Texas. He's done amazing things with their K through 12 esports program, and he's definitely a thought leader in this space. And then also Dan Velez from the New York Institute of Technology and their Cybers team. They are people I very much look up to, and people that I look to their experiences to help guide us and kind of give us some insight of people who have actually done it and actually been boots on the ground and implemented these really cool programs.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about Dell's community engagement efforts? And you kind of mentioned it earlier with, inclusivity, women in esports, and maybe even like toxicity in sports or other related topics.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another one of my colleagues here. She actually was pretty pivotal in creating this group called Girls Who Game. And so that's a partnership that we have along with Microsoft, and getting girls involved in gaming, and also having mentorship with women that are in technology, because we see, a lot of the research out there really shows that girls between 4th grade and 9th grade there's this huge drop off in their interest in STEM careers or in STEM futures or research or things like that. Before fourth grade, they're so into it and they love it and they want to do it. And then somehow, whether it's cultural obligations or societal expectations, it just kind of falls off a cliff between fourth and ninth grade. And so what our thought is that if we can really reach out to those girls in that age range and show to them, no, this is cool. Like gaming is cool, programming is cool, mathematics is cool. There are women that are working in these industries successfully and loving their careers and that want to help you along the way that maybe we had female mentors along too. And so that's been an incredible program. I'm actually signed up to be a mentor with Girls Who Game, and we interact virtually, and we go in and we talk to some of the girl gaming clubs and host competitions as far as how can you build this in Minecraft, and hey, here's a design challenge, and really get them thinking and get them involved. And then also build in the leadership component, saying okay, now you've been involved, you've built this, you've seen how cool it is, now you help your younger female friends come into this and see that it's cool and that you can be a leader and a mentor to them too. So it's one of the things that we're really passionate about and we love, and you just get so much return on investment, helping those girls see that it's okay to like science and technology, and it's great, and you have a very strong future in it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. So how does Dell grow and organize on the side of that competitive esports gaming market, if that makes sense? Like where is your pivotal entry point there, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so we've got our whole Alienware team that do amazing things and help make sure that just private gamers get what they need, and they can have an entire battle station at their house that's really cool and that can get them through any game that they want to compete in. But especially myself and my work and my team, we see so many opportunities for higher education institutions and K-12 institutions to help bring students into that and to help students see those benefits. And so one of the things that we really love is just helping schools go in and maybe they've never even thought about this before, but helping them with the experience we've gained from some of our partners and some of our customers, and say, here's what we've seen work really well, here's what we think the challenges are going to be, here's where we would suggest you focus, here's maybe where you can start to work that into your curriculum. So just utilizing the school environments as a place where students and young people can get involved in esports and recognize that it's more than just being a professional gamer. Like there's legitimate careers that you can build and go into that esports industry.
So us here at Butler, how do you feel that, we or other schools like us can kind of increase our brand in this esports area? Is it partnerships? Where are we looking for revenue? Like how do we grow?
I think you guys are already doing it. I mean, doing YouTube podcasts like this and, partnering with your community. I know I've spoken with Butler a couple of times, and just the outreach that you guys want to do there locally in your community and provide it, even more than just to your own students. That's incredible. And being on, Twitter and Twitch and being on those social media channels and getting that out there. And then also, asking the questions that you are, not just to us on these podcasts, but asking them to yourselves as far as how are we increasing inclusivity? How are we bringing in, ethnically diverse and gender diverse players into our environments? And how can we make our esports club and program be really inclusive and feel like a family and feel very open and welcoming? So I think you guys are well on the way of just continuing to be great.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So in your, in your opinion, your vision of the future for esports, where do you see us ending, not ending up, I don't want to say ending up, but where do you see us in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. I see esports becoming more mainstream. I think we've kind of seen this, not on purpose, but just as a result of the past few months, the fact that it can appeal to a broad audience, and it does have some of the same competitiveness, some of the same excitement, that you can get from some of the more traditional sports. And so I think, just seeing it become more mainstream, we're seeing those numbers and the viewership go up. We're seeing more and more schools and organizations become involved in it. So I think it's going to become more mainstream, more popular, and more accepted, and a little bit less seen as, just wasting time in front of a video game screen, and really seen for the benefits it has. I also think we're going to start seeing more classes and more degree programs around it, because now not only do you have kind of the sports management aspect of it, but everyone is seeing that there are marketing sides to it and communication sides to it. There are, physical therapy sides to it. How do you, make sure that the players are, in their gaming chairs and that they're sitting correctly, but that they're also taking intermissions, and staying healthy. And, there's just this, kind of what we talked about before, this huge ecosystem of industry around esports. And we're going to need degrees that can facilitate people with the skills to do that. And right now it's in a little bit of short supply just because esports is so new. So I really think that in the future we're going to start seeing more higher education institutions embrace that and say, all right, how can we prepare these students for the future?
Absolutely. I agree, and a very great way of explaining all that goes into it, because I think that many people, like you said, don't see the entire picture when they think about esports. So for those people who, are going to need those skills, those people who want to enter this sort of field, what would you say to them? I know you said learn earlier as advice that you were given. Is that the same advice you give to people who are, gung-ho on getting here?
That's definitely one of the things I would absolutely say is always be open to learning, because when you stop learning, you stop moving forward and you stop developing. And so I do think that that's important. I also would say, don't give up, be persistent. If you have a passion, if you have something that you're really interested in, go for it. And, whether that's esports or something else, but go for it, and don't let the fact that nobody has done it before or that someone said, oh, that's a silly idea, but don't let that stop you. If it's what you're passionate about and you see an idea or you see a path forward, take it, and definitely build up those relationships along the way, networking, talking with people, introducing yourself, leaving good impressions with anyone that you interact with, because you never know when, a 2-day interaction that you had with somebody at an esports conference or in a class, is going to come back, and that person's going to remember you and say, hey, I have a really great candidate for this next opportunity. So, never underestimate the impression that you leave in your relationships. So yeah, I think those are some of my things. And I would say also, don't be afraid to take risks, calculated risks, like, make them educated, weigh them. But don't be afraid to put yourself out there and fail fast and fail safe and say, okay, I'm going to try this. Okay, that didn't work. Let's revamp. And be educated, keep learning, but don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to be a geek, because it's okay, and there are more and more opportunities for those of us. So
I think that's great advice. So our last question that we're asking everybody is, who are 2 other industry professionals that you think can give us a very interesting perspective on this world? 2 great candidates for our interview series.
So I might actually do you one better if that's okay, and give you 3.
The more the merrier. I have no problem with that.
So, and hopefully these people won't get mad at me because I did not talk to them about this beforehand. But they're 3 of the people that I've worked with that I've been really inspired by. So the first one is Todd Harris from Skillshot. So, not only is he currently the founder and the CEO of Skillshot Media, but he was also the co-founder and COO of High Res. And so he's got the gaming chops behind it, and he's just as passionate about esports and knows all of the opportunities that it can provide students and athletes, and just community building. So I think Todd would be fantastic if you guys were able to get him. I also would want to suggest Courtney James. So she's the director of student involvement at DePaul University, and another, I'm just gonna say it. She's another female in esports. So let's get females in esports on the camera. And she's done some really great things with just student inclusion in their esports program and just really helping to build a community there at Chicago. So, and then the last one I would say is Dr. Joey G from Shenandoah University. He's the director of their esports program, and he's involved in a lot of leagues. He's a great speaker, and he's been really pivotal in really pushing the idea that students can lead these organizations, and students have great ideas, and students have passion and the incredible wherewithal to actually make these things move forward. And so we need to trust in the students and allow them to lead and allow them to say, hey, institutions of higher education, this is where we want to go. Help make those opportunities for us.
Absolutely. Those are great suggestions.
Thanks.
That is a wrap for this week's interview session. We want to thank Danielle Rourke for, senior strategist with Dell, for your time this week. Thank you for joining us today. Stay safe, stay well, go Dogs.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.